I've got prostate cancer, but I really wanted to make it to the big game with my grandson. And here we are. Go, go, go!
With Erleada, apalutamide, being there is possible. Erleada is a prescription medicine used to treat prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and still responds to a medical or surgical treatment that lowers testosterone. Erleada may cause serious side effects, including heart disease, stroke, or severe skin reactions, which can lead to death, falls, fractures, and seizure. Seek immediate medical attention if you experience symptoms of a stroke or severe rash. Erleada can cause harm to or loss of an unborn baby. Common side effects were fatigue, joint pain, rash, decreased appetite, weight loss, high blood pressure, hot flash, and diarrhea. Ask your doctor if Erleada is right for you. Or tap this ad to visit Erleada.com. CP439267V1.
How about Captain Crunch's Crunch Berries with breakfast?
Whoa, Dad, we're on
Crunch Island. He's Jean Lefoot.
And he stole our crunch.
Quick, the zip line.
He's getting away.
Throw our last Crunch Berry. No! No one steals my Crunch Berries.
I think you mean my crunch berries. Choose your own crunch venture with Cap'n Crunch.
Welcome to Pennsylvania in Focus. I'm Kristen Smith. Getting away from fossil fuels due to concerns about climate change has been a rallying cry for creating hydrogen hubs in Pennsylvania. But how to do it and whether it's even possible are open questions. Joining me today is the Center Square's Pennsylvania reporter, Anthony Hennon. Anthony, tell us a little bit more about this back and forth that we seem to have, especially considering that Pennsylvania is the only state of the several announced that will be getting 2 hydrogen hubs.
Yeah, so we're looking at one in the eastern half of the state called Mach 2, and the one in the western half will be Arch 2, though Arch 2 is also a little more concentrated in West Virginia than Pennsylvania. But essentially, the idea here is basically the federal government is sending out billions of dollars to goose a number of different hydrogen hubs around the country, trying to get basically a whole interconnected system of energy production and industrial manufacturing and all this other sorts to build up hydrogen as a way to drive down emissions and replace things like natural gas, coal, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a push and pull here. There's a technological question of whether this will all work out, but then there's also the question of whether this activity will actually drive down emissions. The question here is basically whether hydrogen production will actually help with climate change. Greg Vitali, who's the Democratic chair of the House Environmental Resources and Energy Committee, he argued the concern with hydrogen production is it can be done in the wrong way, which could serve to perpetuate fossil fuel use. Or, happily, it could be done the right way, which will make it a legitimate tool to attack climate change. But there's this big question of how much of doing it the right way is kind of PR promotion and how much of this is actually possible.
So even though climate activists have concerns about whether hydrogen hubs can actually deliver the emissions results they want, lawmakers historically aligned with the natural gas industry are also worried about this, aren't they?
Yeah, so it's a weird mix of Democrats and Republicans are on both sides of this issue together, to the extent that this could boost natural gas and Pennsylvania manufacturing. Republicans are more supportive of it, and of course, a lot of federal funding coming in for this doesn't hurt their argument. But there's also this concern among Republicans for hydrogen hubs that making this too restrictive and focused on emissions reduction could cut out natural gas and really hurt Pennsylvania. And there's also right-wing opposition to the hubs as a form of corporate welfare, of basically funding these large companies to do all this stuff without really getting much of a gain or actual economic growth. Environmentalists are also a bit split on this, where if it's done in a way that it could boost renewable energy like solar and wind and get that built out, then they're more hopeful and supportive of it. But they also don't want to see these things basically taking away existing solar and wind power and then just pivoting and leaving a gap in the energy market that then would be filled by fossil fuels or non-renewables. So there's a lot of mixing up here of pro and con and the usual political divides. And again, this is early in the process. I expect a 10-year-long development schedule for these. So, I mean, these were just announced, I believe, last year. We're probably not going to see a lot of construction for a few more years because there's permitting reviews and, planning out and everything else. So this is a long-run issue, and it's not clear either how everything is going to shake out.
Considering the tangled web of considerations and planning and infrastructure that this would require, it sounds like the federal government just kind of dropped this onto states as a supposed gift, but really, are they giving any more guidance about what to do, or is this just up to all the states that are involved to figure out how they're going to make this happen?
That's kind of the crux of the issue. There are some federal guidelines and regulations and things like that they have to follow, but a lot of this, legislators and the public haven't really been that involved in. There hasn't been as much transparency as a lot of community groups would like. It's very much kind of controlled by the people involved. So it's not really clear exactly how this will shake out, whether this will be an economic boom, whether this would be environmentally beneficial. There's a lot of unanswered questions. A lot of this is simply going on behind the scenes, and it'll be a while before we really have a clear picture of this.
Anthony, thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.
Every day, thousands of Comcast engineers and technologists like Oluseyi put people at the heart of everything they create.
Some of my favorite moments throughout my life are watching sports with my dad. Now I work at Comcast as part of the team that created our AI highlight technology, which uses AI to detect the major plays in a sports game.
And now, millions of sports fans will never miss a moment. Visit ComcastCorporation.com to learn more.